Good evening, I guess afternoon, COM 3928, almost 4:30 on Tuesday. Dr. Mueller here, a little delayed this week. I'm sorry. A couple of you students have contacted me about the next assignment, and I think I got a little off schedule myself. I've been caught up in a bit of my research, so I apologize. But today I did go out and post. I think this is a real fun assignment. I do, because I think it's fun to look at, and we really learn a lot in these tests. Okay. We're going to do linear regression, and then we're going to do a neural network, really network analysis. And really, for the amount of it we'll do, and there's a lot of deeper analysis, we're just going to look at it visually and then reflect and report on what we see. Okay? So for starters, let's go into the assignment. Let me show you what I have here. And grab this, and here's the assignment I posted: regression and network analysis. Okay, everything here should be clear about what you test. There's 3 linear regressions. Okay, and you'll see when we get into JASP, I'll show you in a second, where you put in the independent variables and where you put in the dependent variable. Just drag them in there. Okay, so the first test is, remember there's the big 8. Let's call it the big 8. The not true of me, very true of me. Okay, the big 8 for each of the messaging we tested for. The first one is you'll pull in the not true of me variable for Twitter, the one that was asking about Twitter. Okay, the independent variables are the 6 measures in the matrix question under the Twitter image. Does that make sense? Remember up earlier in the survey, it was a picture, we showed a picture of Twitter, and then there were the 6 responses. Those 6 responses for Twitter are the independent variables. The 1 response for Twitter, not true of me, very true of me, is the dependent variable. Okay, that's one test. Then you do the same thing for email, right? You know how to set up the same way, and then you do the third test for text. And again, you're relating the 6 testing that went with the visual against the same variable from the not true of me. Okay, so the 6 about text test about against this 1 of text. The 6 about email, those variables test against the 1 variable for email and then Twitter. Okay, hope you get that. Any questions, let me know. Then after that, report on that, report p-scores. I'm going to show you a little bit more of that in just a second. And then after that, we run a network analysis. Again, for that, we're using the big 8. Okay, not true of me, very true of me. Okay, so this is it. And then you report on that, give me screen snips, etc. Okay, that's the assignment. Now, for this time, I'm going to go and do it, but I'm going to do it with a different data set. I'm not going to show you exactly our tests. Okay, so go up here to regression, linear regression. Okay, and then let's do it this way. I would go down here, and in this survey, let's just say I would put negative when C adds. This was a survey about gender and pet rescue, something I did with a class. Okay, and by the way, you might remember this. I need to make sure all these are they're in the ruler shape, right? And sometimes I've noticed this with JASP. When you load a data set back in, it sets it all to the ordinal setting, which isn't always good. So it does take a couple minutes, to go back in here and sort of straighten this out. Okay. So for this, I'm gonna, just pick up a couple of these variables, and again, I'm just doing this at random so you can see a little bit about how this might work. But again, you'll be doing this very same thing for our data set, right? So let's do this. So I'm going to put, okay, when I see ads, I think of negative things. That was basically the question. Okay, that's the dependent variable right here. By the way, where it says covariates, that's the independent variables. I'm sorry, I thought it said that, but covariates here, independent variables. The dependent variable up there. Okay, so then I'm going to go down and grab these these continuous variables and put those in the covariates box. Okay, so you just put them in there, and then let me drag this over so we can see it better. Okay, here is the test. Here's what you do with linear regression. The first thing you do, see where it says ANOVA here? The first thing you do is look for this p-score. That's telling me Is the complete entire test significant? Sort of like ANOVA. Look here first. This one's highly significant, right? Less than 0.001, high significance. So again, we start here. If it's less than 0.05, it's significant, then we report it. If it's more than 0.05, we just report this test was not significant. Okay? You might even want to report what p-score that was at. It was not significant at 0.23 or whatever it was. Okay? But if it's not significant, same thing. You don't do any more. If it is significant, here's what you do. Look down here then and look at this. Don't ever report the intercept. That's just sort of an XY axis thing, and I'm not going to get into all kinds of statistical dialogue. Just don't do intercept. Then look down the rest of these and tell me which ones of these would be significant. Well, look at this. We have this one, lonely guy in 10th. This was about an advertisement. You know, there was intent to adopt a pet. That is significant, right? Less than 0.05. Look at this one, right on the line, right at where you'd not use it, but it is, okay? So when you see this, you would report these ones that are less than 0.05 down here. Those are significant predictors of the dependent variable. Very, very important in advertising, okay? So when you see down here, you know, the type or the different components of an advertisement, you'll see here which ones are predictors of how people would, you know, behave toward potentially a Twitter vision or, you know, Twitter advertisement, okay? These predict behavior toward the dependent variable, okay? Makes sense? So you'll see something similar to this. Now, here's the last thing. You can look at the t-score, and again, this can get real complicated if you try to read about it. I would say, again, this would be the strength or power of the significant predictor. Okay. The only other point I'd make here is if you noticed, if you get a negative t-score, that may mean there's a negative relationship, that t value, the variable might be pushing away from the dependent variable. So it may be as a predictor, but it might not be going toward it. Again, it might have that negative relationship. So I wouldn't worry too much about, you know, the t-value. Just in the simplest sense, just look at it and say, you can sort of see the strength of the relationship, okay? And if you, simply this, if you look down all these and you see this here, this one with the highest the best, you know, p-value has the highest t-score. Makes sense. So again, without getting too complicated, just think of the p and the t-score as being, is it significant? And then what is the strength or power of that predictor? Okay, that's enough for this test for now. We run 3 of those, right? Okay. Then we go up here, see where this plus is? Click the plus. And then look down here to network. See that? These are extra tests. Click network, and then here you'll see this network box, right? Okay, you'll click this. Pretty simple here. Now, the one thing I'll ask you to do, I think it's under graphical options. See this? Click on graphical options. That's the lowest bar. Show variable names in legend. This really cleans it up. I'll just tell you later. I'll show you actually how that works. But click in legend here. And then go up here, and this is where you'll move the big 8 in. Okay? Remember, you'll pick your big 8, and you'll have them set to rulers, right? And you move that in here. Then you click network plot. Okay? Not too much to click here. Okay? And what you'll get is a visual network analysis of how our 8 variables all interrelate and the strength of those relationships. Okay? Here's this with these 5. Now, the reason I said, right, put the variables in legend, you can see if it tries to put the variable names in these little circles, it's all real hard to read. We like it over here in a legend so we can read clearly. But look here, the green line means a positive association. The thicker and heavier the green line gets, the more powerful that association is. Same with red. Red means pushing away from each other. Negative association, again, bigger, thicker red lines mean more negative push away. Okay? So you'll see all 8 of ours interrelated here, and then from there you just start interpreting. Okay? Here we can see, if you notice, 2, which is lonely guy grand mean, is highly related to 1 and 3. Lonely guy attitude, lonely guy intent. Makes sense. These were all from the same measures. So 2, 3, and 1 are highly related. 4 and 5 are highly related, right? We've got vet attitude and vet grand mean. Again, makes sense. These are both from a different commercial measure. Okay, and then in a weaker sense, we've got 3 and 5, lonely guy intent, and vet grand mean. They are together, but a bit weaker association, right? And then we notice here, we can talk about negatives too, you know, the pushaways. The 3, which is lonely guy intent, is more negatively related to lonely guy attitude and vet attitude. Now, I'm just using this as an example here because when you see our 8 variables, you're going to see something different, but it's going to look similar. Okay, I'm going to tell you one thing. This is one more thing you need to do. See up here, these are it's just different kinds of systems it uses to test the neural network. Okay, I think, and you can play with them, I would like you for the assignment to use this one that says COR. In my mind, for what we do, I think that gives one of the clearest approximations of our 8 variables. Okay, see, it's redoing it here. Now, see, this is all different. This shows all positive association based on that measure. Okay, but remember this one, this is the original measure, which is more standardized. Okay, but again, I played around with ours, and you can use all of them. By the way, here, use any one you want, play around with it, look at them all. You can choose the one you want to use and then report that one. But I did believe when I ran it, this test here, the second one, had a little more clarity in what you could report on. Okay? So, what do you think? 12 minutes, but there's 2 tests there. They're important. I think network analysis for our purpose is just a more visual way to look at, you know, as we look at our consumers and how they responded to the very true of me, not very true of me, based on all that data and how JASP is assessing all that, here's how it sees all those being interrelated. By the way, I think if you run it under COR, I would suggest some of the relationships you see between our variables, you can sort of start seeing a prototypical consumer. Okay, that's what we're doing here. In the end, we would use all this to report to our power company client and say, look, here's how things are working out. This faction of consumers likes these 2 types of messaging most together. So for that type of person, you might want to use A and B together when you message to them, okay? You interpret and recommend. That's what network. Now with linear regression, it's more clear. You know, you'll say based on Twitter, these 2, 3, 1 are the significant predictors of how they view or will perceive Twitter messaging. That's really important, showing regression, okay? Because that's where we build our advertising campaigns, we build our messaging, we help the client understand how to create their content narrative on social media, because we now know what predicts behavior based on Twitter, based on email, based on text, okay? Using those 6 variables we used as measure for each of the, you know, images we showed our respondents. Okay, I'm going to get this posted. I know I'm running a little late this week. Again, I am sorry, but please do this. Questions or comments, let me go. Let me know. And again, some of you are doing great. Some of you, please don't run right up against deadline. Some of you have had tech problems. I knew that would happen, and I need time to help you. If it's bad, you know, something's wrong, some of you had software download, mostly on Mac, some trouble with JASP on Mac, I need time to help. You can't, you know, 3 hours, 8 hours from deadline start worrying about your software's not running. Okay? So remember, this is the advertising agency, advertising major. In advertising agencies, one thing we always have is a hard stop. Hard stop means there is no more work. It must be submitted. We must go into meeting. Okay? Our deadlines are hard stop. Okay? We have to submit. And it bothers me because if you miss deadline, it means you lost the account. It means you didn't get the meeting. You didn't get the RFP opportunity. because you missed the hard stop. Okay, so it's really simulating what we have to do for the career I'm sure you'll be in very soon. All right, that's it. I'm going to post. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.